Hey gang! Using the promo code MTGMUDSTA, all caps, will get you 10% off any order over $10 at Flipside Gaming. It'll also get you 10% off any orders of singles at Multizone. And it'll get you 10% off most products at Original Magic Art, with the exceptions of some paintings. If these fine sites don't have what you're looking for, you can also consider using my affiliate link when ordering from TCGPLAYER. And if you'd like to join the generic Goblin Gang to support this channel, there's a link to my Patreon in the description below. You'll also be excited to hear that Flipside Gaming is doing a giveaway for Double Masters. If you place an order of $10 or more between July 6th and August 7th, you'll be entered for your chance to win the box. Alternatively, you can send a stamped, self-addressed envelope or postcard to Flipside Gaming to be entered to win as well. It's one entry per person, so good luck and have fun. We are back at it again today with another older game, this time from GAMERZ CO-OP in Montreal. I am playing my Zedruu deck, so that'll give you a sense of how old it is, keeping a Chromatic Lantern, Island, Azorius Signet, Jace the Mind Sculptor, Toper Orb, Gaia Reach Sanitarium, and Detention Sphere. Kevin is playing Roon, keeping a Forest, an Island, his own Chromatic Lantern, Temple Garden, Court of Calling, Hinterland Harbor, and Stirring Wildwood. Fred is playing Slimefoot, keeping Mazarek, Forest, Swamp, Golgari Germination, Swiftfoot Boots, Woodland Cemetery, and Llanowar Elves. I want to say that Evil Adam is back, but unfortunately this was before he moved to Quebec City, and he's playing Muldrotha, keeping a Baleful Strix, Utopia Sprawl, Mindslicer, Satyr Wayfinder, Verdant Catacomb, Marsh Flats, and Fertile Ground. I win the die roll and start us off. I draw and play an island. Kevin plays his tap Stirring Wildwood. Fred plays a forest and casts his Llanowar Elves. Evil Adam plays a Verdant Catacomb and loses one to sacrifice it. He casts Exploration, which he'd drawn, and then plays out a Marsh Flats and loses another life. He grabs a Bayou with this one, and then casts a Utopia Sprawl onto it. For my turn, I draw, play another island, and pass. Kevin plays a tap Temple Garden. Fred plays a Woodland Cemetery, and he has enough for Slimefoot, casting his commander and passing. Evil Adam draws and casts Fertile Ground onto the tropical island. He then taps the trop for Satyr Wayfinder, revealing his top 4. He keeps a High Market, which he plays for turn, and passes. I draw and play Gaia Reach Sanitarium. I then cast Azorius Signet and pass. Kevin plays Manamo and casts a Chromatic Lantern. Fred plays a Llanowar Wastes and casts Skullclamp. He then drops his Swiftfoot Boots and puts them onto Slimefoot. Slimefoot then goes at Adam, who blocks with the Satyr. Before damage is dealt, Adam sacrifices the Satyr to High Market and gains 1 life. Evil Adam plays an Underground Sea and casts Baleful Strix. He draws as it enters, and then plays out Sakura Tribe Elder. I draw and cast my own Chromatic Lantern, passing. Kevin plays a Mystifying Maze and passes. Fred plays a Swamp and clamps his Llanowar Elves, drawing 2 as it dies. He then passes turn, and at the end of turn, Adam sacrifices the Elder to go and find a basic. Evil Adam plays an island and pays 3 mana for Intuition. The idea of letting Adam effectively tutor for 3 is a no-go for me, and I stop it with Arcane Denial. He still has enough mana though to drop Mindslicer and sacrifices it to his High Market. He gains 1 life and makes the table discard their hand. With the discard trigger on the stack, Kevin uses Court of Calling, tapping so it X's 2, and goes to find a creature. He grabs a Bloom Tender, and Evil Adam passes. On my upkeep, I draw 1 while Adam draws 2, and I then draw for my turn. I play a Volcanic Island and pass. Kevin plays Roon in his main phase and passes. At the end of turn, Fred makes a Saproling. Fred draws and then clamps his Saproling, which has him drawing 2, but also draining his opponents for 1 with Slimefoot and gaining 1. Fred then passes. Adam draws and casts Muldrotha. With his commander on the stack, I activate the Gaia Reach Sanitarium to see about drawing a counterspell. We all draw and then discard a card, and sadly the elemental resolves. Adam then plays a Bloodstained Mire, losing 1 to go and find an overgrown tomb. He takes 2 more as it comes in, so it'll come in untapped, and he then replays the Marsh Flats from his yard with Muldrotha, sacrificing it again to find another land. He puts to field a swamp. We then see a World Shaper hit the field, and Adam passes. I draw and count up my mana, activating Gyreach Sanitarium again, which forces the table to draw and discard, and I then cast Felwar Stone before passing. Kevin draws and looks at Adam's yard and mine. He taps a lot of mana for a Diluvian Primordial, who enters. He gets to cast Adam's Intuition, as it's really the only spell he wants, and goes to find 3 cards to reveal. Mana Crypt, Forest, and Momentary Blink make an appearance, and I give Kevin the Crypt. He bins the rest and casts it, passing. At the end of turn, Fred makes another Saproling. Fred plays a Forest and casts Viscera Seer. He puts the Skull Clamp onto the Saproling, and we get drained for 1, while Fred draws his 2 and gains 1. A Deathbloom Thallid then comes into play, and Fred pays the 1 extra to equip it with the clamp. He passes, and at the end of turn, Kevin exiles Muldrotha until the end of the next turn to slow down Adam. Evil Adam draws, and isn't super thrilled with not having access to his commander. He dredges back life from the loam, putting his top 3 cards from his library into the graveyard. He moves to combat, swinging World Shaper at Kevin, and this triggers the World Shaper, putting 3 more cards from his library into his graveyard. Kevin then takes the hit. Adam then plays an Altar of Dimension as post-combat main phase, and sacrifices the World Shaper to it. He then gets to return all lands from the graveyard into play tapped, which amounts to a lot of value. Evil Adam then casts life from the loam with no targets, and passes, with Muldrotha coming back at the end of his turn. I draw and activate the Sanitarium again, hoping to draw into something good. I don't, and I play a Polluted Delta and pass with mana up. Kevin rolls for his Crypt and avoids the damage. He then casts a Tooth and Nail, entwined, and I sacrifice my Delta to find a land. I grab a Tundra, and Kevin grabs Body Double and Seedborn Muse. The Body Double comes in as a copy of Adam's Hostage Taker in his graveyard, and he targets Muldrotha. This prompts Adam to sacrifice his commander to the altar, milling himself for 6. With nothing else, Kevin passes. Kevin untaps with Fred, and Fred plays a Swamp. He goes at Adam with the Deathbloom, and Adam doesn't block, taking the 4. Fred then casts Grave Pact, and with the enchantment on the stack, Kevin exiles his Body Double using Roon. Fred then passes through his steps, and at the end of turn, the Body Double returns, becoming a copy of Protean Hulk in Adam's yard. Kevin untaps with Evil Adam, and Adam sacrifices his 4 fetch lands, losing 4 life to find 4 lands. He grabs a Breeding Pool, Forest, and Watery Grave, and sadly fails to find on the 4th fetch. He then draws for turn, and plays Strip Mine. Adam then pays 8 to recast his commander, and with the commander on the stack, Kevin flashes back Momentary Blink and targets his Primordial. With it re-entering, he casts my Arcane Denial and counters Muldrotha. He also casts Adam's Life from the Loam to return some lands to his hand. The Denial then counters the commander, and Adam tries to use Strip Mine on Seedborn Muse, which isn't allowed, and has to use it on the runner-up target, Manamo. Kevin then activates Roon to exile the Deathbloom Thallid, and untaps Roon with Manamo before it's destroyed. Kevin then exiles a Viscera Seer as we move to return the Thallid, and we pass to my turn. Adam draws 2, and Kevin draws 1 from my Arcane Denial on my upkeep, and I activate the Sanitarium again. In my main phase, I cast Grasp of Fate, which as it hits the stack, Kevin has his commander exiling Seedborn until the end of the turn. My enchantment then comes in, and I exile the Altar, the Lantern, and Fred's Skullclamp. Kevin untaps for turn and plays Exotic Orchard. 8 mana gets him a Woodfall Primus, who enters and blows up Adam's Tropical Island with the enchantment. He then swings the Protean Hulk at Adam and passes. Kevin untaps with Fred, and Fred casts Beastmaster Ascension. The Deathbloom then heads at me, and I take 3. At the end of Fred's turn, Kevin then exiles a Woodfall Primus, who will come back at the start of the next end step. Adam plays a Cavern of Souls, naming elementals. He recasts his commander, who can't be countered now, and it resolves. Adam then casts a Lotus Petal, and with the artifact on the stack, Kevin activates Roon. He exiles Muldrotha until the end of turn, and Adam then plays Bojuka Bog as his land drop, exiling Kevin's graveyard. Rhystic Study then hits the field, and Adam passes. This has Muldrotha and the Woodfall Primus re-entering at the end of turn, and Kevin blows up the study with the Woodfall Primus trigger. Kevin untaps on my turn, and I draw and activate the Sanitarium again. I cast Zedruu this time, and Kevin exiles Woodfall Primus in response. I pass through my steps, and Kevin returns the Woodfall at the end of turn. With it entering, he targets Fred's Grave Pact. Fred responds to this by creating a Saproling with Slimefoot and sacrificing to the Viscera Seer. He gets to drain us for 1, scry 1, and makes us sacrifice a creature with Grave Pact. Kevin sacrifices the Woodfall Primus, and it comes back with the Persist trigger, getting him another target to blow up. This time he targets my Chromatic Lantern. Fred then sacrifices the Thallid to the Viscera Seer, and he gets a Grave Pact trigger again, forcing us all to sacrifice a creature. This time Kevin sacrifices the Body Double, and it's a Protean Hulk, so as it goes to the yard, he gets to go and find 6 converted mana cost worth of creatures. Kevin grabs a Noble Hierarch, Recruiter of the Guard, and Phantasmal Image. The image comes in as a copy of the Primus, and Kevin gets yet another Destroy trigger, plus he has to tutor from the Recruiter. For the Recruiter tutor, he grabs the Glenalendra Archmage with it, and the image version of the Primus goes on to destroy the Beastmaster Ascension, and Fred then sacrifices another Saproling to the Viscera Seer, scrying 1 and draining us for 1. We still have one more Grave Pact trigger, or should I say Kevin does, and he sacrifices the Recruiter of the Guard. Kevin passes his Crypt again, and plays a Flagstones of Trocaire. He then casts a Nature's Lore to go and find his own tropical island, and Kevin then taps some mana for Glenalendra, and swings enough to put Evil Adam to 1. In his second main phase, Kevin exiles the Woodfall Primus, and passes through his steps to blow up the Grasp. As the enchantment is destroyed, I return the permanents to their owner's control. Fred activates Slimefoot in his main phase, making a Saproling, and clamps it. Fred draws 2, and drains us for 1, taking out Evil Adam. He then casts a Sylvan Library, but this gets countered with Kevin's Glenalendra. Kevin then exiles the Woodfall Primus again, and as we move to Fred's end step, it returns, blowing up my Sanitarium. I draw and play a Tap Celestial Colonnade. I pass, and we realize at this point we're probably not able to get out from underneath Kevin's board state, and scoop it up to him. Game review time. So, I didn't cast Topher Orb early on because it would have completely shut off Kevin's deck, and frankly, I needed him early on to keep Evil Adam in line. Unfortunately, by the time that I would have liked to cast the Topher Orb, Evil Adam had already cast the Mind Slicer and sacrificed it, meaning it was in my graveyard. At this point in time, we didn't have Dance of the Man, so I really didn't have a lot of ways to get it back. Kevin's Roon deck did really well, and as soon as the Seedborn Muse came out, I think we probably all should have focused on him. It just becomes increasingly difficult since Kevin's able to protect basically whatever combo piece he wants, and then gets to untap his lands and commander on the next turn, and do it again. You need multiple pieces of removal to be able to deal with that kind of combo, and unfortunately, we just didn't have that. Fred's Slimefoot deck probably did the weakest that I've seen it do, and the only upside of him playing was the fact that he got to kill Evil Adam. He unfortunately didn't run into very much of his ramp, or his doublers for tokens, and as a result, wasn't really able to do very much except for make a sapling at the end of turns. Please be sure to tune in every Monday and Thursday at 11 AM Eastern Standard Time for a guaranteed new video. You can also follow me on Twitter at MTGMudsta. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/MTGMudsta. And lastly, you can check me out when I stream at twitch.tv/MTGMudsta. This video is brought to you in support by my patrons. If you're looking for a way to help out the channel, please be sure to visit the link below. Thank you all for watching this video, and don't forget, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.